Greetings and salutations, everybody. I have assembled something a little bit different for you this week in one big macro lecture. What I'm interested in trying to do this week as we transition out of the first two sections of the course where we overview campaign strategy and then go through the nuts and bolts of a lot of different elections in the modern era from 1960 to the present. In this third section, we're backing way out and talking about the function, the democratic function of political campaigns in the modern era in America's political culture. First question I'm interested in asking that we're going to entertain this week is, what does it take to win? What are the qualities, what are the common properties of successful Republicans and successful Democrats if we take a big broad view from 1960 to the present? The thesis that I'm offering to you comes out of women's and gender studies, comes specifically out of studies of the ways in which audiences are presented with and interpret images that they code, stereotypically sometimes, as masculine and feminine. The argument I'm making to you is that successful Republicans have employed one specific stereotypical notion of masculinity, a kind of brute strength in a dangerous world, and they have successfully cast their opponents in a negative feminine light, meaning that they're hysterical, incapable of dealing with problems that require that kind of brute strength. Democrats, on the other hand, have been successful when they cast themselves as protective nurturers, and they have also simultaneously taken the ideas of masculinity from Republicans and flipped them and said that these are not people who are protectors, but instead these are aggressive, trigger-happy brutes who are incapable of using properly emotional and rational connections to solve complicated problems. They just run headlong into fights, wanting to fight first and ask questions later, and that's not what the world needs. That is the thesis that I'm advancing to you, and what I've done is I've assembled a ton of evidence, mostly through campaign commercials, because there's both an oral component and a visual component to the argument that I'm making, and so I'd like for you to click through those, and I'm interested in getting your take on this. So what I've done for our weekly discussion prompt is just to ask you to evaluate the thesis. What is the strength of the argument that I'm making? What is the argument missing? Is there evidence that could perhaps be used to make the claim even stronger? You'll notice that I've stayed away from the most recent campaigns, 2016 and 2020, because I don't want to get bogged down there, but you can actually assemble lots of good arguments to actually strengthen the thesis by looking specifically at Trump v. Clinton in 2016 and then Trump v. Biden in 2020. One specific little caveat, or two specific little caveats here. Number one, I'm painting with a big brush. I have not assembled all of the evidence, but I think I have lots of evidence. So go ahead and evaluate the evidence that I have, and then keep in mind that there's other evidence that may contradict or evidence that might actually strengthen the case, especially if we look at the most recent elections of 2016, 2020. And then secondly, just a logistical note, Prezi does not allow me to embed videos that are non-YouTube videos, so a couple of these are URLs that you're going to have to click through. I know it's a little more cumbersome to click it and go to an external website and so forth. My apologies there. But take a look at these commercials that I've provided the URLs for, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts about these ideas that I'm sharing with you on this week's campaign site. See y'all soon.